What are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of my son's persistence and my patience.
What kind of things did you have to overcome in that time frame?
I'll start by saying my father's dad wasn't around. And I
Mm.
didn't become a father until 2019, but in 2010, I got to hear the late, great Dr. Myles Munroe speak.
God forbid something happens to you today. You want to leave something with your son that you really want him to, remember about you. What's that thing you want him to remember? All right, family, listen, we back for another interview, man. We got to keep them rolling. There's a lot of fathers out here and we got to get to them. So, you know, I got another brother here, good friend of mine, man, just somebody who I really want you guys to hear his heart, hear where he's coming from when it comes to fatherhood. So tell the people your name, man.
Hello, hello. My name is Kenneth Wilson Jr.
All right, all right. And how many kids you got, man?
I have one son, 6.5 years old.
Okay, got one son. All right. And you said he's 6.5?
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. And then what do you do for a profession, man? What do you do for work?
I'm an engineer, mechanical, and
Oh,
industrial.
oh, nice. So there's a lot of technical aspect to that job, man. And you got to think through and make real decisions, right?
Indeed, a lot of frustration and rigor in there.
Yeah, man. No, I can completely understand that, man. And most of the time, man, the reason I ask our fathers, man, what they do is because I know that our profession, kind of plays a role into how we are as fathers, man, how we lead, when it comes to
Yeah.
instruction and us giving that instruction to our children. So that's completely awesome, man. So what are you most proud of about fatherhood right now, man? Where you're at right now? What are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of my son's persistence and my patience. Because even when I was teaching him
Mm.
to tie his shoe, he said, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I was just words of affirmation. Yes, you can. Take your time, and just hit him eventually break through.
Oh, man, it's the simple things, right? I mean, because that's
Yeah.
that's that's actually what you're gonna build on. I know he's 6 right now, so there's a level of, learning things for the first time right now. So
Yeah.
that's great, man, because most people most people, we overlook those things. We're thinking about the lofty things about, what we want them to do when they get older and all those kinds of
Right.
things. So, man, I love the persistent aspect, man. That's phenomenal. So, when you were becoming a father, what kind of emotion went through you? Like, what did you have to kind of overcome, without kids, right? So, you're in
Right.
a space where you don't have kids, and then there's that moment in time where it's like, man, either my son is here or he's coming. What kind of things did you
Mhm.
have to overcome in that time frame?
I'll start by saying my father's dad wasn't around. And I
Mm.
didn't become a father until 2019, but in 2010, I got to hear the late, great Dr. Myles Munroe speak. And I ended up buying several of his books. He had a book called Principles of Fatherhood. And I read that book to prepare for what I think I lacked growing up. And I think
Mm.
for me, I had already read the Bible a few times. One time, page by page, chapter by chapter, and then a couple Bible apps of like the Bible in a year. But at
Yeah,
Western Church of Christ, I understand what biblical leadership was and is. Think that was all helpful.
that's absolutely phenomenal. I heard you talking about, your church foundation and how that, helped you in your fathering. Tell me a little bit more about that, man, because a lot of people don't even they don't talk much about their foundation, right? Like what, informs their fatherhood. You were talking
Mm,
about, being at West End Church of Christ, man. How helpful was that in that foundation in learning how to be a father, man?
I think two parts. We learn identity through Christ and confidence, and I guess how we should be as men. And we're the sum of
Mm.
experiences we had growing up, good, bad, or indifferent. So it's like take what I went through, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Like how can I pass the baton faster, further than, and so my child goes further than I did, and my parents want me to go further than
Yeah.
they did, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
think
Right.
also counseling is important too for various reasons.
Absolutely. So, and I heard you touch on, not having your father, right? So, the one thing that I wanted to speak to, man, was who were influences for you in that space, or did you find yourself trying to having to figure it all out on your own, man, when it comes to fatherhood? And then, what did you lean on? I know you said one of the particular authors and that type of thing, but what did you lean on, man, when you were, trying to learn about this fatherhood thing?
All right, so my father was home, just a real quiet guy.
Okay.
I think as I get older, I learn and appreciate his quietness. You know, it gives you time to process and figure things out before you go to socials and try to put something out that you haven't taken time to process. Outside
Gotcha.
of that, I had a plethora of great father figures. I can't name them all, but Mrs. Cedric Johnson from the
Right.
Boys and Girls Club, another brother that passed away,
Okay.
Mr. Simmons. I had several coaches and all their identities and them just pushing me to become a better athlete, which led me to get a scholarship. But in college, Mr. Hawkins was amazing. Still keep in touch with him. And then there's also
Yeah.
Mayor Frank Jackson, who was amazing. So like I'm blessed, and I always kind of run into somebody that can give me little nuggets. That's what Mr. Hawkins calls them, nuggets.
Right.
hmm And like I got a
Yeah, man.
father, but they're like fathers 2.0. Not to negate my dad, but I gained more, being older from their shared experiences. Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So let me make sure I didn't mishear you earlier. So am I to understand? So dad was home. Dad was home
Yeah.
in your life because I thought you had said I didn't have my father, so I misheard you. Sorry about that.
It's good. My dad didn't have a father, like, nobody consistent in
Oh,
his
your
life.
dad didn't have a father.
Yeah,
Okay, so there was a level of understanding from dad where he was trying to figure it out growing up. Okay,
very
okay.
much so, yep.
While you were growing up. Yeah,
Mhm,
no, man, that's absolutely powerful, man. Because I think
yep,
about, lessons we can take from our dad and then,
mhm,
things that we wanna do different. So along those lines,
right.
man, what did you feel like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this different once I become a father?" What was one thing that is off the top of your head, man, that you had to do differently?
I think not passing down generational trauma of whoopings with, like, a battery thing. My
Mm,
therapist,
okay.
Dr. Toomey in North Carolina, he said, "Hey, my first child, I spanked him. Second child, never touched him." He gave me a book to read. It's called The Explosive Child. And then I picked up another book about like I can't think of the title right now, but it's like the premise of the book is kids want to do good. They don't always have the words to express what they're feeling and why they're not listening. So they gave me a different
Mm,
level of patience as children. And like I think that's been fundamental because with getting a whooping, you become real selective on what you share and what you don't share. Whereas I want to create a relationship where you can come to me for everything. I mean, there'll be discipline, but it won't
wow.
necessarily be physical. It'll be like, punishment looks different than, the belt.
Right. Wow, man, that's actually really powerful, man. Because our culture and how we grow up, man, it's
Yeah.
about, it's about leaning into that scripture, spare the rod, spoil the child. But you
Mhm.
got a completely different perspective, and it seems to be working for you, man. And it's one of those things where it's like fatherhood is not a total sum game. You're not gonna get it
Right.
all. There's no playbook for fatherhood. There might be
Mhm.
principles, there might be statutes, but every child is
Right.
different, every home is different. So, man, I absolutely love that, man. That's absolutely phenomenal. So, keeping on that theme, man, how were you able to lead how in this space, because I know he's still young, but how are you able to lead your son, without necessarily controlling him, right? Like, how are you able to lead him, man? Like, what are some tools that you're using that he's able to follow you and things of that nature?
I think primarily I ask him questions like, "What are you doing? Are you listening? You doing what Kendall wants to do?" He's very honest. I appreciate that about him, and then guide him from there.
Right.
I think I do like this red light, green light system. If I have to ask you something more than 3 times, that's a red light. And so many red lights, I take TV privileges, which we reluctantly only do for the weekend. And I think the biggest way I discipline him without
Right.
touching him is I charge my car at the park nearby. And he's sitting back there,
Okay.
cars, we were getting there and everything. He's like, "Dad, can I go play?" I said, "Have you been listening very well today?" He'll say no. He's honest about that. So right now, no, we can't go play. But if you continue
Right.
to get better at listening, we'll go walk and we'll go sightseeing at the park. You just can't go play. So it's teaching him that, my
Mm.
my actions have consequences without like the traditional things we discussed, the belt and that part. And I think the biggest thing I
Yeah.
had to get better
Yeah.
at doing is not yelling. My dad, very much yeller. No knock to him. I'm not sure what he experienced, but I think I realized my son was becoming that and I had to kind of back off that and that's where the book came in handy and taking time to process that.
Right. Okay. Man, I think about what it looks like, and I find myself even to this day, my son just starting high school, and
Mhm.
I'm learning new ways to discipline him between me and my wife. We're learning these different tactics, so to speak, because
Yeah, yeah.
the way we were raised, these kids aren't, they don't comprehend it in the same way, right? So
Mhm.
So much
Facts. Yeah.
information, man, that, things kinda you gotta be real creative. So I love though that particular perspective that you have around that, man. So,
Yeah.
when you're thinking about your son at this age, right? Most of us, we try to think ahead, right? But have you
Yeah.
ever sat in a space and thought ahead about, what you want your son to learn about when it comes to women, family, and responsibility? Is there anything where you're thinking in your mind as you prepare for him to get older that you really want him to know in those spaces? Because for me, I think about those type of conversations, we got to start thinking about them now so that we can be
Right. Right.
prepared, when they do get to an age. Because I think a lot of times, us as fathers specifically, we wait too late to have certain conversations. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
is there anything that you want your son to know about women, family, and what responsibility looks like?
So great question. We started a point system based off making his bed, brushing his teeth, taking out the recyclables, things that he can do to earn points, give him money at
Yeah,
the end of the week. So it teaches him like, you work to provide for yourself. And he's so answer, he's like, Dad, I
yeah,
want to pay a bill too. So he understand the perspective, even though we're young, about like it takes money to pay for the house, the bills and all this stuff.
right.
I'd also say
Yeah,
that I like him to be on our dates so he can see us interacting. Like, he'll see me open doors and I'm like, hey, this is what you should do as a man, open doors.
right.
So he's seeing it versus me, hey, this is what you do. He sees it. He comprehends way more from my actions than my words can ever say. I think that's all I can
Wow.
think of now. Just let him see us interact.
Yeah, no, man, that's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they're gonna lean into what we do more than what we say. I mean, obviously,
Big
what our
time.
words have power and things of that nature, man, but our example is everything. Wow, yeah, you're spot on with that one, man. I absolutely
So,
love that. So,
appreciate it.
what moment made fatherhood real for you? Like maybe it could be, and I don't want to give you kind of the answer, but what moment in you and your son's relationship and life made it really real for you? Do you recall that moment?
I think when he first came out, seeing them, holding them,
Mm,
waking up to change Pampers. I think mothers have a hard time with the birthing process and even like, for women to do breastfeed, there's that process. But I would get
yeah,
up and change his Pampers. She can just come in and breastfeed him and do her thing and be on her way. So it was like her changing the
right.
pamper and then, doing that. I helped out where I could and just watched them grow. And in that process,
Yeah,
I implemented classical music early and even some old school, like, your Switch, various Luther Vandross songs. But even Andrea
right.
Bocelli, like, would play it to him, we just kinda relax him, just see how he reacts. So, the
Wow.
moment he came out, it was, "Hey, I'm here." And my Uncle Chip was like, "Hey, he running the house now." I understood exactly what that mean. We gotta hop up and respond to him right when he needs us, type of thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow. 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 That's funny, man. And I absolutely love the music aspect, man, because
Yeah.
we don't even realize, what kind of effect, the environment in general has on our children, man. So I'm
Right.
really glad that you're in that space and you're thoughtful in that way, man, because there's so much that we can learn from other fathers like yourself, even though you are a young father. There's a
Right,
lot
right,
of things that, I can learn because we got way more information now than we had back in the day. So there's
right.
some things that we can really implement, man. So I absolutely love that, man. So final question for you, man. God forbid something happens to you today
Mhm.
and you want to leave something with your son. You want your son to know something about dad that maybe you haven't shared yet or that you really want him to, remember about you. What's that thing? What's that thing you want him to remember?
I think always speak up for yourself about what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like. Be an advocate for yourself. I taught him that, Dad, this person at school is messing for me. Okay, how do you resolve it? Did you speak up for yourself? Did you tell your teacher if he stopped listening? Did you go play by yourself and what the circumstances were? And just say, what,
Yeah.
obviously your parents are your biggest advocate, but you gotta advocate for yourself too. So keep that confidence in what you know and
Wow.
what you don't know. And it's okay to ask for
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. Wow. Biggest advocate. Man, listen. I absolutely love it, man. Listen, you dropped a major amount of nuggets, man. And I hope
Thanks,
the
man.
people are listening because Ken definitely dropped some jewels for us. And the only way we're going to be able to get this message out even further is if you like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to
Indeed.
tell a friend. So
Yes,
until the
sir.
next interview, peace.